Well, this amazing valley is a giant fern valley, a small private territory not far away from Shingo. This is the very south of Kii Peninsula in Japan, and today is November 8th. Amazing view and extremely impressive. That completely breaks my previous opinion that giant ferns can only grow in tropics. First time when I was in Japan, it was Tokyo Botanical Garden, and I was really hardly impressed by giant fern which grow openly without any cover, just in an open space in Botanical Garden. And then I start to realize, well, of course, fern distribution is mostly restricted with water, not with temperature. Most important is availability of water. And in that regard, Kii Peninsula is perfect place for giant ferns, because this is one of the wettest part of Honshu. There is a Kuroshio stream not far away from it. It's a warm stream which goes in the Western Pacific and bring health and kind of temperature in Japan. So this is one of the reasons why Japan is not so cold like more northern islands, Sakhalin and Kuril Islands. So Kuroshio name is a dark black water, means that water is deep blue, because like warm water in ocean typically has less production, because like gases are dissolved in the warm water worse than in the cold water, so it will be less algae, less other invertebrates, and less fish. But it also brings slightly higher temperature and a very high humidity, like 5 meters or more of rainfall per year. So this is good for giant ferns. The giant fern valley is a nice demonstration of how, like many people think, strictly tropical flora can survive very much outside of tropics. But I would also speak today about leaf of giant fern. So this is an amazing natural structure. Leaf of giant fern demonstrates some unusual ways of making leaves. In Carboniferous time, and maybe even in a late Devonian times, very, very long time ago, long before birds, dinosaurs, even before animals went to the land, plants start to experiment with making leaves. So like very primeval, initial vascular plants probably have very well naked stems, like contemporary Psilotum, Matsubara. But then they developed leaves, and looks like many groups of vascular plants developed leaves independently. For example, lycopods went one way, horsetails went other way, and multiple different groups of ferns went in their own way itself. So each lineage developed leaves more or less independently from other. So leaves of giant ferns are very unusual in many ways. So we call them leaves because they are flat and photosynthetic. They superficially similar to leaf of ferns, but this is kind of situation when we call dolphin the fish. So dolphin is not a fish, it's a mammal, and a giant fern is not a fern. It's a separate group of plants called Maratialis or Maratiopsida, very specific group of plants with lots of unique characters. One of the most remarkable, of course, is the forming of sporangia, which has multiple cell wall and also formed with multiple cells. So sporangia are present on the back side of leaves right now. But I will speak about vegetative part, about leaf itself. So this is inflated skeleton leaf, the different concept from what we see in fern. First of all, leaves of Maratia ferns, Maratialis, do not form fiddleheads. They more similar to that structure and open like that. Second, when leaf is fully developed, it has leaflets more or less independent from the actual system of leaves. So you can see it in many different leaves when they become older, like this one, for example. Leaflets will go away easily. So this is not normal for most ferns. In most ferns, that situation do not occur. And so under the ferns of Angiopteris genus, this is Angiopteris, you can find lots of fallen leaflets. Now that axial system, which support one of the biggest leaves in the plant world, only comparable one are leaves of palms. But leaves of palms are full of fiber, and this is different. So this axial system is extremely robust, and as far as I can suggest, mostly made of living tissue. So living tissue in botanical language called parenchyma. And parenchyma is a tissue which is inflated with water. Cells of parenchyma are full with water, and that water pressure will support the rigidity of parenchyma tissue. In addition, giant ferns, and this is a small similarity with, for example, cycads, they have plenty of slime inside the living body, and that slime, of course, is supporting water, because slime is a nice thing to keep water in place. So this is going together with the idea that axial system of leaf is formed by parenchyma. Now, leaf is very abundant with nodes, with some thickened parts. This is also very unusual. So this is not typical for ferns, for normal ferns. Well, I am explaining like what is not typical for fish and dolphin, right? Anyway, so this is not typical for ferns, and supposedly these thickened node-like structures are adapted to change position of leaves in according to the light direction. So that is normal for flowering plants, but not quite typical in a fern world. Carboniferous ancestors of giant ferns were tree ferns with tall stems, quite similar for today's cytias. But very soon, all giant ferns start to be smaller plants, and now most of them have kind of round, short stem. So leaves also play important role in vegetative reproduction. So each leaf has two stipules, and these stipules do not only make a garden of leaf, but also they will initiate development of new plants. So leaf of Maritioid giant fern will make new plants two ways. So it might do it from stipules. And also, of course, leaves are covered with sporangia, and spores will come out, will germinate, and grow into protalia. Protalia of giant ferns are also giant. It's easy enough to find, and especially in that valley of giant ferns, they are very abundant. And they're quite successful in both vegetative and normal generative reproduction. And when that axial structure is degrading, of course, leaflets will go by their own. But then this is a very heavy one. So how to get rid of it? So ferns, these big giant ferns, Maritioelis, they invented very interesting way. So this whole leaf will degrade in the very basement. And then you can easily detach it. It will go away as a whole structure. So axial system, when it's done, when it's without leaflets, will be detachable in the basement. So this is very interesting thing. So these giant leaves are so stable because they have extremely hard axial system inflated with water and slime. So kind of inflated skeleton of giant ferns. And this is again the giant fern valley, not far away from Shingo, Kii Peninsula, Japan, on November 8th. Thank you.